Okay, guys, welcome back to work. It is Wednesday, a little afternoon, and as I told you, we have to have a COVID-19 plan in place, complete with best practices and protocols that we have to follow. Not only do we have to do that, but all of our contractors have to do that. Um, the companies we work for, like Meyer and probably the Mormon Church. I know Emergence has protocols. Basically, pretty much every job site we set on, actually every job site that we set foot on, we're going to have these protocols in place. Over the last couple of weeks, I've attended multiple webinars and Zoom meetings. I have read just about everything I can get my hands on, including the governor's multiple executive orders, not the least of which was this recent one where she opened up the construction work on May 7th, as well as the kind of work that would be normally performed outside, and for us, that would be, exterior painting. But before we're allowed to do that, we have to have a COVID-19 plan in place. We have to have protocols in place, and we have to have all the various personal protective equipment on hand, which I think we do at this point, minus digital temperature taking item, which I should have tomorrow. But anyway, I've spoken with actually all of you via text or phone, and in as much as we're starting up tomorrow, it's pretty limited, as some of you have child care issues. I know a couple of you have maybe some side work that you're doing. But anyway, we're back up and running as of tomorrow, and then next week, God willing, we should be pretty much fully employed. And as the weather stabilizes, we'll be undertaking some fairly significant projects. As I have said in previous videos, we have an enormous amount of work on hand, and it just keeps flooding in. So I hope you're rested up, ready to go, and you haven't forgotten how to do what you do. Anyway, I have a written COVID-19 plan which will be distributed to all of you. I'm not sure how you're all going to get it. I know the guys working tomorrow will either be will be given it by Paul or available here at the office, as well as the personal protective equipment, which we'll go over here in just a few moments. Anyway, I've adopted this plan from the Associated Builders and Contractors of America, of which we're a member, and they are a member of a consortium of construction associations, 25. They put together this plan and made it adaptable for its members. We're members, so I've gone through and adapted this to our particular industry and the kinds of projects that we work on. The purpose is the plan is to outline the steps that we're going to take to reduce exposure to the risk of COVID-19. This plan, which is in writing and which I'm going to give you the highlights of right now, this would be considered your training. So pay attention if you value your health and your family's health. The plan describes how to prevent worker exposure to the coronavirus, protective measures to be taken on the job site, PPE or personal protective equipment, and work practice controls to be used while on site, cleaning and disinfecting procedures, and what to do if a worker becomes sick. Some of the latter details, which has to do with record keeping, that are all part of the plan, and some of the details about what happens if somebody shows signs of or the symptoms of COVID-19 or actually contracts that. I'm not going to get into all those details. You can read about that in the plan. We'll use those procedures if and when that happens, and as far as I'm concerned, I pray to God that it's not going to happen, that everything is just going to go fine for all of you and for your families, as well as Paul and I, Barb, and those of us here. All of you, including Paul, he's read the program, the plan here. Job leaders, all the crew members, everybody in our company needs to be familiar with this plan. And as I said, we'll be issuing it to those starting up work tomorrow and those starting up next week. Somehow we'll get this into your hands. The company will be conducting a daily screening protocol, and this is really important because this is something that you're going to have to do every single day without fail, and I don't want to have to be chasing after you for this. This is something that is required under the executive order. It is required by OSHA, and it's something that we have to follow. And that is a daily screening protocol. And that's for everyone who's entering, going to work on any given day for our company, as well as entering a particular job site. Now, understand that with general contractors, and I know Emergent, and any of these kinds of organizations, companies, they have their own protocols, and when you go on to their site, you're going to have to fill out a form every single time that you leave, every single time that you go on to a job site, you're going to have to fill out a form that states that you haven't been out of the country, that you're not showing any signs of the COVID-19 virus. And I don't know what else they're going to have on theirs, but we're going to follow that as it relates to your coming to the building here. There will be a table at the north door, emphasis north door, and that will have a form that you'll have to sign in. If you come to the office for any particular reason, you're going to have to stop, fill that out, sign it every single time. Okay, so the way we're going to handle this company-wide, the screening protocol, is at the time when you clock in, we use the TimeWorks Plus phone app, smartphone app. You're all familiar with that, and I believe you're all familiar with how to use the notes feature on that. What you're going to do is that when you clock in every single day, you're in your notes section, you are going to say, I am not experiencing any COVID-19 symptoms, or something to that effect. Of course, if you are, you're not going to clock in and you're not going to come to work anyway. So if you're clocking in, you're coming to work, when you clock in at 7 or 8 or 9 or whenever it is that you clock in, you are going to your notes section and you are going to state, I am not experiencing any COVID-19 symptoms, or you can abbreviate it, not experiencing symptoms of COVID-19. Make it specific to COVID-19. That is to be done every single day. Now, we'll talk about symptoms in just a moment, as if you didn't know. Now, in order to comply with the state of Michigan's construction industry requirements, each job must have a site-specific person to supervise the components of this plan. And it's not complicated, so don't worry about that. And for us, that's going to be the job leader. So if there's a crew of 2 of you, one of you has been designated the job leader. You're the one that's going to be making sure that not only yourself, but your coworker, and if you have more than one everybody's following the plan. Again, this is for your health and safety and that of your family. So the job leader, if you're just by yourself, you're doing the job by yourself, well, you're going to supervise yourself and make sure that the job site situations are circumstances meet the requirements of this particular plan. It is written in the executive order and in the OSHA guidelines that designated entry points for each job will be made. And since a lot of this is for the construction industry, for general contractors, for contractors in general, that would not be applied to us as far as designating entry points. But for example, I know that we're starting up 2 jobs tomorrow, and they have designated entry points because they have to. It's part of the rule. If it befalls, the responsibility falls to us, then we will designate an entry point. Likewise, we or the general contractor, depending on the situation, will identify choke points and high-risk areas where workers must stand near one another to control the access. And you know, for another company, it might be an elevator situation or a hallway or a mechanical room where a lot of people have to be working. Generally, that's not going to apply to us, but it's part of the plan. If it does, it's our responsibility to make sure that social distancing is maintained. If, as part of this plan, if any of you, Paul, have a confirmed COVID-19 case, then it's our responsibility to inform everybody that we've been working around, the general contractors, supervisors, superintendents. I'm believing that that's not going to be the case, but there are protocols for that. In general, we as a company will be restricting unnecessary movement between project sites, and for you, that will mean, under this plan and under the governor's executive order and OSHA requirements, you're not, jumping in your truck and running to the paint store a couple times today. So any unnecessary movement should be restricted by you. And again, this is in your self-interest. Likewise, we have created a protocol for minimizing personal contact upon delivery of materials. Not exactly sure how that's all going to play out right now, but in general, Sherwin-Williams, O'Leary, they deliver products. We'll have protocols for that here at our office and for job sites. We'll touch base on that in a few moments. So here are the responsibilities of employees under this plan. Of course, to minimize the spread of COVID-19 at our job sites and here at the company facility, we've instituted various housekeeping and social distancing and other best practices for our job sites and our company facility here. And all of you are expected to follow these. In addition, you're expected to report to your manager and supervisor, in that case would be Paul or myself, if you experience any signs or symptoms of COVID-19 as described below. If you happen to have a specific question about this plan or COVID-19, you can ask Paul, you can ask myself, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. My guess is probably all of you, like me, have been following all the news and reading what you can set your eyes on, and you probably know as much as I do about the thing. So, but anyway, if you do have questions, I've got a lot of materials, websites I've saved, things I've printed off. I've got the executive orders, so I pretty much have all the information here. OSHA and the CDC have provided the following control and preventative guidance to all workers regardless of exposure or risk. By the way, there are designated risk factors from extremely high to very low. We fit the very low to somewhat medium category, just so you know. So you've heard these. Frequently wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Warm, hot water is best. That's not always going to be possible on your job sites, probably not likely. So you would want to use hand sanitizer. We do have hand sanitizer. I bought a bulk of it. We will have 8-ounce spray bottles available for distribution to you, refillable as you need them, as well as disposable shop towels that you can use to wipe things off with if you want to or need to. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Follow appropriate respiratory etiquette, which includes covering for coughs or sneezes, and you're going to want to do this when you cough or sneeze, even if you've got a face covering on, a mask. Do this when you're coughing or sneezing. This is probably the chief component of the governor's requirements under, and she has a list of things for the construction industry that they have to do, is maintain 6 feet from other persons to the maximum extent possible. And obviously avoid close contact with people who are sick. So symptoms of COVID-19, which again I'm sure you're all familiar with, coughing, fever is a big one, although not always would you have a fever if you happen to have this. But let me say this, from what I've read, a vast number of people, maybe a majority of people, are asymptomatic, meaning they have no symptoms whatsoever, and you wouldn't ever know if you have it unless you were tested for it, which is part of the reason, probably the main reason for the social distancing and the face masks and stuff that we'll get into in a moment. But anyway, symptoms include coughing, fever, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing. Early symptoms include chills, body aches, sore throat, headache, diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, and runny nose. If you do develop a fever and symptoms of respiratory illness, such as a cough or shortness of breath, we don't want you at work. You're not to come at work, and you should tell me that. If you call in sick or text in sick, you need to tell me what's going on. Likewise, if you come in close contact with somebody, you're standing in line at Kroger or Walmart or whatever, and they're 6 feet away from you and they sneeze on you or something like that, just don't let that happen. So job site protective measures. Any employee, contractor, visitor showing symptoms of COVID-19 will be asked to leave the job site and return home. Safety meetings. You're having one right now. This may be how we do safety meetings from here on out. I don't know. I considered Zoom. I like Zoom. I've been using Zoom a lot. Everybody's been using Zoom a lot. But this may be a great way to do safety meetings from here on out. At least until this whole, I don't know if it's ever going to be over. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. If we do have in-house meetings, we will observe the 6-foot rule. There will be masks available if you don't already have one. And there will not be a sign-in sheet that you pass around, have to handle. I will take attendance, or whoever is running the meeting will take attendance, so that you don't have to handle that. As I said, the company will conduct safety meetings via phone. We could do that by phone, maybe a call-in, or Zoom video conferencing, or here a YouTube video. Pre-job meetings, when you get your job assignment. These days we're doing a lot of that on Basecamp, and there's not a lot of face-to-face contact anyway. But anyway, pre-job meetings to the degree possible will be done by text, phone, email, or online via Basecamp. Employees should avoid physical contact with others and direct employees, contractors, visitors to increase personal space to at least 6 feet where possible. I think most of us are probably getting into the habit. It's almost subconscious now, where it's like everybody's got the plague and you're staying away from everybody. I haven't done that with my wife yet, but who knows. Employees are encouraged to stagger lunch breaks. I don't know that you all take them collectively anyway. My guess is you probably go to your vehicles, and I would just encourage you to go to your vehicles and take your lunch breaks there. As I mentioned, the company will provide alcohol-based hand sanitizer. We'll keep a stock of that. If you run out, we're going to have 8-ounce spray bottles, and then a bulk stock of it here for refills. And if you need a refill, you're going to have to come in, or maybe we can switch. We have a few extras. Maybe we'll switch them out for you. Employees should avoid use of coworkers' tools and equipment. Basically don't share tools and equipment between each other. And employees using company-owned tools and equipment, the company will provide for disinfectant of the tools, so you take out, I don't know, let's take out a drill, a cordless drill, for example. When that comes back, we'll spray it with disinfectant so it's ready to go the next time. Likewise for a sprayer, which would probably include the handle and, the spray gun, vacuums, the places, the parts that you would touch, they would be sprayed with a germ-killing disinfectant. This probably won't apply to us too much, but if it does happen, we'll be restricting the number of workers present on the job site to no more than is needed to perform the work required. And that has not really been much of an issue in recent past, but if it does become one, we'll implement that. If we have to have a very large crew on a particular project, we may split it into a couple of groups to minimize the number of persons on the job at a time. We may go to shift work. That may be a very safe and convenient way to avoid, a bunch of other trades, for example. It might even be more productive. We will not be doing carpooling at this point. To the degree that it is possible. For the most part, we're just not going to do it. But if it becomes necessary, then the rule, OSHA, just says, have the windows down. There needs to be ventilation. Where practicable, employees should use or drive the same truck or piece of equipment every shift for the duration of the project. So for example, if you happen to be issued a truck, you don't want to be switching out trucks. You basically try to drive the same truck. Here's a couple of other things that are specific, additional precautions. I've been saying this before there ever was a COVID-19 outbreak, but avoid unnecessary trips to the paint store, big boxes. Plan ahead, plan ahead, plan ahead. You probably know that all stores are presently either closed or restricting the number of persons allowed in their buildings or are offering curbside services. So, jump into the paint store for a piece of sandpaper or a tube of caulk, it's just not realistic to do. So don't do it. Make sure you think ahead about what you're gonna need. We do that anyway here, but obviously we're not always accurate. We don't always get the things that you use in particular. So if you want something specific for a particular job that we wouldn't typically order, then ask us and we can include that up front. Avoid clusters of people. Maintain social distancing. Okay, so workers entering occupied buildings and homes. Now this would be outside of the construction industry. Right now, I don't think we're free, as far as I read the order, I don't believe we're free to go into people's homes at this point. We would be free to go into remodel situations and into essential business situations. For example, we have a state office building that we have work to do in. We would be able to go in there. But so when we're going into an occupied building or home, we should evaluate specific hazards and best practices related to the COVID-19. Basically, and in general, and as is practicable, employees should sanitize the items and areas that you feel is necessary for your work to be done safely. I can think of an office building that I've been told we're going to be doing. We're basically painting corridors. It's an occupied building. There's insurance companies and financial companies and stuff in this particular building. And the way that I envisioned that is that when we approach that job, we would wipe down the main doorknob. And if we're painting doors, maybe let's just say we're using the bathroom and the janitor's closet, we would sanitize those things when we go on to the job site. If we're painting doors, and that, which I believe we are going to be painting doors, there's a lot of doors, we would probably want to disinfect, go around with our squirt bottle and wipe down the doorknobs as we go. So that kind of thing, sanitizing the items and areas that you feel is necessary for your work to be done safely. And again, you should maintain personal distance of 6 feet to the degree possible. And sanitize your hands before and after completing your work and during the course of the day. I think I've told you this before, but I worked in a hospital back in the 70s, and I was made to be aware that there's germs everywhere, and there are in a hospital. Probably the worst place you can go for germs and viruses and bacteria, and that was like 46 years ago, long time ago. But ever since then, as a young man, I'm super conscious of germs, and for most all my adult life, I'm conscious of when I open a door and pump gas or whatever. So I'm sure you're probably becoming like that as well. So be conscious of that. Think about money, for example. When you go to the counter and you pay somebody, that money is probably the filthiest thing that you can handle. Well, anyway, so wash or sanitize your hands on a regular basis, and don't touch your face like I just did. Site deliveries will be permitted. It may be me, it might be Paul, it might be one of the vendors like Sherwin-Williams or O'Leary, it might be Matt. But they should be coordinated in line with our minimal contact and cleaning protocols. Delivery personnel should remain in their vehicles if possible, or otherwise practice social distancing or the wearing of face masks. Okay, let's talk about personal protective equipment for a moment. In addition to the regular PPE that we would use, like fall protection equipment, hard hats, safety vests, hearing protection, those kinds of things. In addition, our company will provide gloves, okay? Now, there's different things that I've read about gloves. They are, from what I've concluded, they're encouraged but not required. If you think through it logically, you wear a pair of gloves and, you're touching stuff all day long. You have to adjust your mask if you're wearing one. You got to take your mask off. Well, whatever's on your glove, just like whatever's on your hand, is going to get whatever you touch. So I'm not really sure to the degree practical, it is for the wearing of gloves. However, we have plenty of gloves if you want gloves. I have ordered the nitrile gloves, plenty of nitrile gloves. I have dozens and dozens and dozens. I have also boxes and boxes and boxes of the latex gloves. So if you want gloves, we have them. Eye protection. Basically, COVID-19 isn't going to get into your eyes. It doesn't come through your eyes. However, ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors, said that we should require wearing safety glasses. I don't feel that way, so here's what I say. Safety glasses should be worn when required under the company's safety and health management program. In other words, if you're normally required to wear safety glasses, you wear them. However, if you feel safer with safety glasses, then wear your safety glasses. And if you don't have any, we have some on stock here. You just have to let us know. Okay, on to face masks. Y'all probably know now that when you go into like a big box store, or you go to the grocery store, in most public places you have to wear a face mask. Here's what the standard says. What does the standard say? If you cannot consistently, this would be on our project sites, if you cannot consistently maintain 6 feet of separation from other workers, other people, then you wear a face mask. Now, for example, Neil at Emergent, you have to wear a face mask all the time. It may be that some of the projects that we're going on for Harmon Management, the banks that we're doing, credit unions, the dentist's office, they may require you to wear face masks. I have a stock of face masks. They're very hard to come by and they're very expensive. but I do have a stock of surgical masks at this point. You may make your own. You can wear a bandana. You can make your own out of cloth, a double layer of cloth. I encourage you to do that. If you do wear your own, then I would encourage you, the protocol for that is to wash them every day. So when you go home at night, you put them in the dishwasher, you wash them in the sink and let them dry overnight so they're good to go for the next day. That would probably be the best. So if you have your own, please wear them, please bring them, please wear them. But if you need masks, we have a supply of them. I have more on order, and I'll try to keep an abundant supply of masks for as long as we need to be wearing masks, which God knows how long that is. All this stuff is here at the company office, and we can distribute it. You can come and get it. Remember the protocol, signing in, when you come through the north door. You don't take it without somebody issuing it to you, because we need to manage our stock. Like if you came in and took 50 masks, then people would go without masks. So don't do that. Disposal of sold masks. If you wear a company issued mask, gloves, you throw them away in designated disposal points. If they have that on the job site, I don't know if they do. Don't put them in, residents' waste baskets. Don't put them in our company waste receptacles. Put them in the dumpster. Okay, next section is job site cleaning and disinfecting. Now, a lot of this our generals are doing. For example, we just read through the CSM, their schools, protocols for the summer. We have like about 8 or 9 schools to do this year. A couple of them fairly significant. A bunch of them are like remodels and small additions and what have you. But CSM, for example, they're going to be cleaning their job sites 3 times a day. For us, when we go into repaint situations, well, let me just read here what we have going on here. Job site trailers, breaks, lunchroom areas, if present, are the responsible party's responsibility to keep clean and disinfected. So that would be the general contractor's responsibility if indeed there are job site trailers, lunchrooms, break areas, and what have you. Any trash collected from the job site by us, our trash, our debris, must be done with wearing nitrile latex or vinyl gloves. We do have contractor trash bags. I've restocked all of our sundries here, so we have contractor trash bags on site here. Portable job site trailers are to be cleaned by the company responsible for them. Before the COVID-19, I was always conscious. I mean, think of all the people that use these things. They don't use the sanitizer. Sometimes there's no sanitizer, so they're not very clean facilities to begin with. But portable job site trailers are to be disinfected regularly by the company supplying them. They're supposed to have hand sanitizer, but I would encourage you to make sure if you use a job site porta potty that you go in there, with your own hand sanitizer just in case. Vehicles and or equipment tools should be cleaned once per day and before a change in operator or rider. So if somebody uses the truck here for a day, brings it back, they're not going to use it anymore, then we would disinfect the handles, the steering wheel, anything else like that. I think I already mentioned that if you're using a drill and you bring it back, it's returned, then we have to disinfect that unit. We'll probably just spray it down with a bleach water solution. Okay, if one of you happens to test positive for COVID-19, we'll be cleaning that particular area of the job site where you have worked, the tools that you've used, equipment or vehicles that a confirmed positive person may have come in contact with. So we'll be disinfecting the offices daily, like Barb will be basically disinfecting doorknobs, from the north door right on through to the front door, the toilets, and the sinks. Anything that any of you or any of us would be touching on a regular basis, we'll be disinfecting on a daily basis. Okay, there are job site exposure situations. Again, if you exhibit COVID-19 symptoms, you just stay at home. And there's some protocols there. I'm not going to read it all, but number of hours, full day, anyway. You can look at that. That's on page 7. And there's protocols that if you happen to test positive for COVID-19, and there's protocols for testing if you happen to come in close contact with somebody, with a person who has tested positive for COVID-19. You see, I just touched my nose. So if you're wearing gloves and you got an itch, you're going to touch your face. So I don't know how gloves is going to prevent anything, but you're completely welcome to wear gloves. Everybody's nose itches from time to time, or you're going to wipe the sweat off your brow in the summertime. I don't know how you're going to avoid that. So anyway, there's record-keeping provisions. Just so you know, I think I mentioned this, for a while it was just essential industries, healthcare, transportation, some government. But under this new order issued last Friday on the 1st and effective the 7th tomorrow, construction has been allowed to resume, given the components of this plan, as well as exterior work that's normally done outside. For us, that would be painting. So we are allowed to do this. The order is good through the 15th, and pray to God that she doesn't revoke it. She expands upon that. Pray to God that this COVID-19 spread would be nipped in the bud. And there's back in the policy, there's a confidentially privacy language on page 9. And then finally, if you have questions, concerns, text, email, or call me, and I'll do my best to answer. Like I said, I've got a pile of information. So that said, let me just pray over you. Father in heaven, thank you for every single person who is part of this company, as well as their families and all that pertains to them. I pray your blessing upon them. I ask you to protect them from this coronavirus going forward. I ask you to watch over them, be a shield about them. May they be healthy, whole, and financially prosperous. And Lord, I just commend them all to you in Jesus' name. Amen. So I hope everybody that is able is ready to go to work, because we've got a lot of work and it's all over the place. So with that, God bless you. We'll be talking to you soon.